the subtitle. Okay, got it. Okay, then you have the subtitle, the ecological perspective, which is really looking at human behavior within its milieu, within its context. It's a holistic approach to understanding human behavior. So all the other stuff there, I think, are correct, the names and so on.
Did
Now,
you say, sir?
Yes.
Did you say milieu?
Yeah, meaning the environment. Like ethos, the environment, milieu. How we interact.
Okay, sir. Because it's a French word, I'm surprised. I'm trying to learn everything I can from the
Okay.
English.
Oh, okay. All right. But
Yes,
that's kind of what I meant by that. The ethos, the environment, ecological. It's a holistic approach to understanding the human behavior. You can't understand it in isolation.
yes,
You have
sir.
to look at the whole platform, because we interact, with our world. And so that's how we have to look at it.
So from this one, sir, we can get the saying, it is popular where it says that bad company corrupt good morals.
Precisely, because you may hear me use words like you may see me, let me put it right here, a word that I may sometimes use, WORLD, man, I didn't WORLD, world, life. Oh, sorry, I reversed it actually. It's supposed to be life, world. Okay. Now, whenever you see me use that word, what I'm talking about is what you just said. Okay.
Oh, okay, sir.
We live in a life world. In other words, we change it and it changes us. We are part of it. We cannot isolate ourselves from it. Okay. So that's kind of what the message there is. So, but now let's look at the biblical view, since it's important for us to start out in understanding humans, understanding ourselves. It might help us to start out by looking at the biblical view of man in his social environment, in his habitat. What does the Bible say about us? We know what Freud says about us. We know what the politician says, the religious preachers say. We know what the sociologist says, psychologist. Everybody has some sort of a definition for understanding man as he engages his environment. So what does the Bible say about this? What are their views? So if you look at Jeremiah, for example, in Jeremiah chapter 17, verses 9 and 10. And anytime you see me quote a passage, I'm quoting it from the New American Standard Bible. So
Okay,
if you don't see this, it's always going to be the New American Standard Bible, unless I make some exception and I'll put the Bible in. But any quote that I quote would be from the New American Standard Bible. Okay.
Yes, sir. I don't have this one.
Right, but
But you already have the verse.
Traditionally, I used to do the King James, then I shift to the New King James. But because I grew up in a British system, I used to use the Revised Standard Version, which is the British. Now that I live in the United States, I find myself using the New American Standard Bible, which is the American version. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So you said someone just joined us?
No, I didn't.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So in Jeremiah 9 verses 17, verses 9 to 10, it says the heart is more deceitful than all else and is desperately sick. Who can understand it? And then he went on to say, the Lord who search the heart, test the mind. And again, I want to underscore this right here. The mind. See that?
Yes,
Test
sir.
the mind. Okay. You're going to hear a lot about, we are the product of our mind. When the brain goes, we don't even know who we are. So it's important. So when you see this phrase, it'll come back again, that he tests the mind, with the heart, you talk about the heart,
Yes, sir.
and it says that is, let me see, I hope it's not the school or somebody calling me here. Okay, let me try to shut this off. Okay, school preaching, let me see what it is. Oh, they're just saying the ads. Okay, so anyway, so it says the Lord tests the mind, even to give to each man according to his ways and according to the result of his deeds. So we can easily translate that his deeds to be behavior, because ultimately you are your behavior. I mean, that's how you demonstrate who you are. The content of the mind gets displayed in the behavior. Great.
Yes, sir. I was asking a question.
Go ahead.
That's why I raised my hand. Yes. You said something about the mind that I didn't grasp. You said the mind. Whenever I see the mind here in that context, it means the heart.
Well, what I said, he used the heart, but the mind really is talking about the brain.
Okay.
Right, because remember, all of your thoughts, your brain, your body is controlled. The engine is in fact the brain. So if the brain is damaged, what do you expect? Why do some people act crazy? Why do some people run the street naked and don't even realize that they don't care? Something is wrong where? With the brain. The mind is gone.
Yes,
crazy.
But sometimes we mix them up. Like,
yeah.
I think there is a passage that says that men conceive evil thought in his heart. However, I think we take whatever the thought that we have, we make it with our head or our brain.
Right, and that's just a matter of the heart sometimes is referred to the emotional side. I feel my heart, that's just a figure of speech, just a way of describing certain emotions, aspect of us. So the heart is more the emotional side. When that is used, it's more the feeling side. And when the thinking is used, it's more the cognitive side, your thoughts. So you have thoughts and you have feelings and you have behaviors. Those three things. So I think I did spell his name wrong, right?
Richard Roy?
Yeah, O-Y-E. That's the person who taught. I think I spelled his name wrong. I'll correct it.
I was too focused on mine. I didn't realize.
Let me just. Oh, which is the first name?
E. You need to have a E.
So which is the first name?
And not that big E, sir.
Which is the first name? Is the first name Roy? Richards is the last name, correct?
Roy is the last name, sir.
Roy is the last name. Okay,
really? So we are always calling you by your last name?
Okay, so it is R-O-Y-E. So I did make, okay, so now I'm glad I got that correct. Okay. All right, so now I got it correct. Okay, all right. So let me go back here. So again, the mind really, let's just, for this class, we're going to be concluding everything in terms of the brain. So all of your feelings come from the brain. All of your thoughts, your thinking comes from the brain. You can't, your heart that pumps the blood doesn't feel anything. So it's just an expression. So if you think of how the brain operates, you think about the thoughts, the cognitions, and you think about the feelings you have, the emotions you have, and the behavior, all of that. Even when I raise my hand, the brain is sending a message to the muscles, because the thoughts that I have in my brain, and if I had a stroke or something where I can't move my hand because the nerves got damaged, whatever is happening in those nerves. So even though I have thoughts to raise my hand, the message is not going to my muscles to raise my hand, so I can't raise my hand. And you see sometimes some people who can't, because on their left side, they can't do anything on their left side because the message is not going to the muscles.
Yes, sir.
So even when I speak, a message goes to the muscles. Vocal cord allows me to do this.
Yes, sir.
When I see something, the image that I see is because the image goes back into the retina, it registered at the optical nerve, and the nerve goes search the brain and say, oh, I remember that. That is Claudius.
Okay, sir.
Right? So like I said in another class, when a husband, when he wakes up in the morning, the person laying next to him is his wife. But he doesn't think about it because the brain has that memory there. But what happens if you are to drug the husband and you took him while he was drugged, he's out, and you take him to the neighbor's house, you put him in a neighbor's bed and put the neighbor's wife to him, and then you wake him up. You follow? He's going to be really what? Totally confused, because in the memory, that woman there was nothing in his brain about that woman. There's nothing in his brain about that bedroom. So there's no, it's going to be a real challenge for him.
Yes, sir.
Because it's all images that's stored in the brain. So it's important that we understand when we see these, terms, what they are. So here, so then if we go down now, we still continue to see the biblical concept of man in his environment.
Sir.
Yes.
If I understand well that explanation, it means then we really and truly we love with our brain.
Yes, that's the only thing you can love with. It's the brain.
However, the Bible is saying if you love your God with all your heart.
Well, it's just like I said, it's just a figure of speech. In South America, when someone greets you, like in Mexico, Honduras, they will bend and then they will put their hand on their heart. Even in the United States, when the flag the song, American song is being sung, people put their hand on their heart. You follow? They put their hand on their heart.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So we do that, but truly, it's all happening upstairs. That's why when you ride a motorcycle, you should wear a helmet, because that whole machine is upstairs.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Yes.
The reason why I know that is true, even the scripture in Jeremiah 17 and verse 9, where it said the heart is deceitful above all things.
Yeah, I put it right here for you. It's already there. Right.
It's not really the heart that is pumping the blood, because the heart cannot think of itself.
Right.
So yeah, it's just a figure of speech.
It is. But sometimes we miss that. And, for example, I can have a heart replacement. I can get somebody's heart, and it happens all the time. But you can't replace the brain. Yes, when the brain is done, you're done. period. You'll finish.
I think the sense they use it, it's because some of the things that our brain, may feel or think about, it reacts on our heart. Let's say, for example, most people always say, the way that I knew I love you or something like this, my heart beat fast and all of that. So perhaps this is the way they are saying.
Yeah, but your heart beats faster when you're standing in the road and you turn around and a car is coming at you. Okay.
Sir, the brain just says that you should be afraid of that, and the heart reacts to it.
Well, the heart muscles just pump more blood because you need more blood. You need more energy. And that is transported but through the blood. Everything you eat, the nourishment is all transported through the blood. And so when the heart is in a situation, it need more oxygen going to the brain, so the brain can function.
We are just living in complete lies.
Well, I mean that's just the way we choose to to focus. But and that's where that sometimes allow people to become skeptical of our views, because sometimes they think we're just so ignorant. Because and then they rule us out, and they rule out everything else. But it's important for us to understand that change must occur in the brain. So if you look at, let's go down to Genesis chapter 6 and verse 5. Then the Lord saw that the wickedness, see the wickedness here?
Yes,
I underscore it. What do you think is being talked about here? Wickedness. Remember I said in the brain, you have the way you're thinking, the way you're feeling, and your behavior, the way you're acting. So when it says wickedness, it's talking about behaviors that are inappropriate. Behaviors that are not congruent with who God is, his nature, holy.
Yes, sir. It's just you.
Yeah, he's talking about your behavior. Your behavior is not in harmony with the character of God. So wickedness is just another way of saying your behavior is nasty. Your behavior is bad. Your behavior is no good.
Yes, sir.
So that's kind of what that is. And then he says, and notice now, here's another important piece. Maybe I should have done something with this, because this is important. Let me see if I can highlight it. You know what it says? That every intent means what? What's another word? Put another word there.
Desire.
Thoughts, not desire. Thoughts, thinking,
Okay.
intent.
I wanted to say so, but thought it's already
right. But thought, intent of thoughts.
Yes,
Intent, say of thoughts. These are the cognitive process that's going on of his heart. And notice, see the word heart comes back again.
Yes, sir.
See that comes back again, right?
Yes, sir.
Was only evil.
Continually.
In other words, all of his thoughts, notice that. You can't have bad behaviors unless you have to have bad thoughts.
Yes, sir.
So the Bible's description of man is he's a horrible being. It's not nice. It's not a nice person. He will kill, he will steal, he'll do everything. For example, the war between Ukraine and Russia are men behaving badly, nasty, because they want something. And so because they want something, they're fighting for it, and they're willing to kill for it. But Genesis said that's who we are.
Yes,
We're
sir.
very self-centered, very selfish, and we look out for ourselves and we're willing to kill for that.
Yes, sir.
So that's the biblical perception of man in his environment. For example, if you take man out of his environment and you put him just by himself on the moon, follow?
Yes, sir.
The bad behavior is going to disappear, isn't it? So you gotta look at the behavior within that's why at the very top, remember what it says at the very top? Human behavior in this social environment.
Yes, sir.
Social
But
environment
even,
means the way we interact with each other.
yes, sir. Even there, I believe some would suicide himself. Yeah.
There's no what you can't violate anybody's rights. It's your own rights.
Yes, sir.
you're
Because
by
you
yourself.
cannot be isolated. And I think you have said that as we
Right,
begin.
right. I understand that, but I just wanted
Yes,
to
sir.
use the illustration to emphasize this social environment. So the church community is a social environment. We may say a spiritual environment. Either way, it's a people interacting socially. You're
Okay, sir.
hoping that their behaviors will be appropriate and will be congruent to the character of who God is.
Yes, sir.
So for example, you would expect people to dress appropriately. So if a lady walks into the service and her breast is falling out, I mean, obviously, something is wrong, isn't it? Or the reverse, a man is walking in and his drawers is hanging out and his pants is on his knee. I mean, you see the social environment, right? The behavior.
Yes, sir.
But that behavior is driven by a way of thinking about oneself and a way of thinking about the environment itself. And so we're going to be seeing later that remember I said the life world, remember this thing I said right here, see the life world here?
Yes, sir.
Right? That is where if I start wearing my pants down, I might influence other people to start wearing their pants down.
Yes, sir.
Also, follow? So, and then it goes both ways within that social environment. That is why, remember Jesus said that we are the light of the world, remember that?
Yes, sir.
So light extinguishes darkness. And so you mirror light to me and I mirror it back to you. We interact socially. We are social beings and we interact with each other. And so it's important for us to get that. Huh?
In our world, it's easier to imitate a bad behavior than
right.
than a good one.
Right. And so that become learned. That's why television is having such an impact in shaping our social interactions. Like in the Caribbean, everybody wants to know play basketball instead of cricket, because, well, now not all the Caribbean islands, obviously, but in the British islands, the British Caribbean islands, it's cricket. But because of television now, everybody wants to, be rich like Michael Jordan, be popular like a basketball player. So all young kids now, want to probably play basketball.
Yes, sir.
Now, another passage that may help us, as we go along is in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 1 through 3. And this, again, is talking about change and development. Our personality, the human, the social environment is having an impact on us, and we're having an impact on it. So Paul was able to say, and I, brethren, could not speak to you as spiritual men, but as to men of flesh, as to infants in Christ. In other words, you're still babies. You have not grown up.
Yes, sir.
I gave you milk. See the language?
Yes, sir.
Milk is what? Baby. In other words, you don't have teeth. What is saying? You don't have teeth to crush, the bones and the meat and stuff like that. So I have to give you soft food so you don't kill yourself. But not solid food, because you don't have teeth at this point to be able to do this. For you are not able to receive it. Indeed, even now, see the disappointment? Even now, you're not able yet, for you are still fleshly. Then he's now going to describe what fleshly behavior would look like. For since there is jealousy is a what? It's an emotion, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Strive is also strive. How would you define that? What is strive?
Conflict.
Yeah, which is a behavior, isn't it? It can manifest itself in a behavior. People can start, raising their voice at each other,
Yes,
which is
sir.
a behavior, right?
Yes, sir.
And then he says, are you not still fleshly? Are you not walking as mere men? So Paul is saying in this social environment that your behavior is nasty, your behavior is horrible, that you should have been a grown, mature individual, but you're not. Now, here's an interesting thing, though. I just threw this in here. I put it in there later, but I'm just put it here now. Jesus said that unless you become as a child, you be converted, but he associates conversion with being a child. How do you explain that? Let me go to that passage. I think I have it here somewhere. Yeah, there it is right here.
So you want us to explain in light of what we just read?
Yeah. I mean, how do Jesus said you'd have to, if you want to go to heaven, you got to become like a child. And Paul is simply saying, you should have been a grown man by now.
Perhaps, well, our world today makes it so difficult to explain, because when we look at child or children today, they are not that much respectful or humble. In fact, psychology show that children, they have a way of dealing with people. They are open. As long as they don't like you, they would say it to your face. And maybe if it were a grown man or an adult, you wouldn't act in this way, but the child doesn't care about that. So now it makes it kind of difficult to explain the context.
Well, but I think you kind of explained it. It's really looking at a childlike quality. That's what is teasing out. In other words, you wouldn't have arrogance. You wouldn't be, be selfish, running for money and stuff like that. Those kinds of, even though children are very selfish, just so you know, children are born selfish. Okay. So
Yes,
again, you still have to be careful with the definition. How far? I think what Jesus was trying to look at, he was making a comparison between the way the adults were behaving. They were like going at each other. Children play together. Children, whether you're white or black, poor, rich, or what, they don't discriminate. You follow?
That's what I would say.
Yeah, they don't discriminate. And I think that's what you were saying. So
it's
you
like
were
they have
on the right
your
track.
mind.
Right. So that's kind of where that is going. But let me go back up here And I want to now look at this. I put this passage here in terms of 1 Corinthians 6 and verse 11, because I really want you to see here that you should never become a victim of your environment, because you can change. You are who you are, not necessarily because of the environment, because you are able to shape the environment and you're able to change. And whatever you act out, it's not the environment. You're acting out the things you have taken from the environment. You're still the master of your bad behavior, because you have to distill those patterns from the environment and make it your own to then act it out. You follow?
Yes, sir.
So Paul says, such was some of you. And if you look at the list, starting with verse 9, it says, or do you not know what the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God? And he says, do not be deceived. And look at the list. Neither fornicators. See, these are all behaviors in the environment, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Idolaters, adulterers, effeminate. It talking about lesbianism, women loving women, and homosexuals, men loving men, having sex with men, right? Nor
Yes, sir.
thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revelers, nor swindlers will inherit the kingdom of God. And then what I want you to see, it says, such were some of you. Because notice the list of things here are things that people accumulated, they copied from the environment and made it their own. And one of the arguments you have to understand that homosexuality, you're not born a homosexual. You can't change, what you were born with. You follow?
Yes, sir.
You can only change what you have taken from the environment and make your own.
I'm trying to get it right, sir. Because I know many of the homosexuals, they are saying that, they are born like that.
Well,
So,
you can't be born a homosexual. Remember, homosexuality is a thought. It begins there. It begins with certain feelings, certain things that you see. You have to see it, and then you have to taste it. Okay, and that's a crude way of putting it.
okay, sir.
And it was a child.
Most time they use that. So if
Right.
we approach them perhaps with that argument, maybe they will find a way to say that, they will try to explain, well, I was born like this, so since you just say it, I can't change it, because you said we can't change, the way we are born or things we are born with, something like this.
Right, you can't change that, but the fact is you're not born that way. For example, the people who are changing their sex now, right? They can have an operation and you can become a girl.
Yes, sir.
See, you're not born that way. This is all because you look and you would like to be. So it really, and Paul is arguing, these are things that the grace of God can change.
Okay,
So to
sir.
say that I can't change, I was born this way, really is, no, yes, if you were born blind, follow? If you're born with one arm, yes, you can't change that.
Okay, the physical.
Right. But all the rest are basically adaptation to the world, portion of the world that you have taken. For example, you, I could tell you're probably from Haiti. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
How do I know that?
Because you knew before.
No, 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 not because I know, because I heard the accent.
Well, you knew me for since 2019 or
But what I'm saying is, though, I'm just saying to you, if you were born in Jamaica, your accent would have been different.
yes, I know, but I could be from maybe St. Vincent or whatever.
Well, from St.
St.
Vincent,
Lucia.
St. Vincent, you wouldn't have that accent, though.
Okay, yeah, I know you were born there, so you must know.
Yeah, you wouldn't have that accent. You know, what I'm saying is your accent is as a result of where you were socialized.
Yes, sir.
So you can easily tell someone who's from Jamaica who comes from the countryside of Jamaica. Okay, it wouldn't take you much to tell that they're from Jamaica.
Yes,
No
sir.
matter where you meet them in the world, you could tell.
Yes, sir.
So, but that's, they didn't, you can't say they were born that way. They were socialized that way. So Paul is simply saying, you know, when God created us, it would have been, look at how, I mean, this would have been, if you were born that way, yet God is simply saying it's an abomination. It would have been like crazy, wouldn't it? If God created you that way, but at the same time, he's saying it's an abomination. Would that make sense to you?
As a matter of fact, I think we just read that in Genesis.
Yeah.
Not true?
Yes.
Yeah. So we have to go along with it. So just do our best. And I think I was preaching a sermon and I was saying that because the truth is, even if we are Christian, we don't have to deceive ourselves. There are things that we can do them as well. We may not choose to because of whom we are trying to be, but naturally what the Bible said is true. Our thought is constantly evil. If someone slapped me right now, the first thought would have been to slap back. But now because I know I'm trying to follow Christ's lifestyle, I may refrain from doing it, but it is not that the thought do not come to me. So really and truly, we are still the same, but trying to live with other principles.
Right, because the terminus to which you're going is in Ephesians chapter 4. It says, until we arrive at the full stature and measure of Christ. Every day, it's a process. So in this passage, it says, such was some of you in 1 Corinthians 6 and verse 11. And you will notice the three words that are used: washed, sanctified, and justified. Those three words are there, but
Yes,
they're
sir.
all a process.
Yes, sir.
Especially justification. It is an ongoing process.
And I remember an illustration that you have given to us maybe in 2020 when we just started having the course, where you said that you know a guy in America, he was, he was a pagan and he used to curse a lot. And while you were traveling with him in a car, and I believe you had an accident, and then, because he was surprised and he starts saying those things that he used to say before because they were still there deep in his mind.
In the brain.
Yes,
but
sir.
Actually, let me correct you. That guy was in Jamaica, it happened. And we were coming from Harborview. The Harborview Church of Christ. I started that congregation in Harborview. So I used to transport people from Ligonier and places like that in my car to go there and worship.
All right.
So that's what happened. But anyway, but that's a good illustration of that, because and that says to you that the brain is the storehouse of all of your experiences.
Yes,
Everything
sir.
that you have ever done is stored in your brain
Yes, sir.
and will come out when you don't want it to come out. And that is where grace ought to work. That's why you have to pray every day, study every day, sing good songs every day, and prime the brain every day.
Yes,
Remember,
sir.
Jesus said, what defile a man is what comes out of the man.
Yes, sir.
You know, whenever it takes root, it is going to come out eventually. But it's
It-
hardly people who curse, they're not going to curse on a Sunday morning in worship service. Come on now. They can control it. You catch them in the street on a Monday.
No, sir.
It's another story, isn't it?
You never know. Like Jamaican, they like saying some words like that are bad word when they are surprised. What
Right.
if while there is worship going on and then something happened and you're surprised? The first word that is going to come out is that.
Right. But I have to tell you though, a lot of us do curse in worship service on a Sunday morning, but we do it privately. So I think I'm over time and I need to go because there's a class, right? Am I correct?
Yes, sir. We have to go as well.
Right. So we need to, but please remember this whole idea that you are the product of your environment, but also your environment is also shaped by you. And ultimately, you must make the decision of how much of the environment you're going to allow to dominate and to control your life. And that's the essence of what we're talking about. So we're talking about human development within the social environment and how that will change. So
Yes.
thank you. And let me get out here so that Brother Buckland can start his class.
All right.
Okay. So how do I think you have to let me out, right? How do I get out? Because some of you have to stay there.
Yeah, you can just do it yourself, sir.
How
You will
just
find
stop.
the end button, yeah.
Okay,
Um,
okay, okay, and just say leave, right?
Yes, sir.